Welcome everyone to the Lost World Museum. My name's John Adolfi, and we always ask the provocative, important question, where do we come from, apes, aliens, or Adam? Today, we're going to talk about batteries and battery technology. I want to know why in 1938, they found a half a dozen or more batteries in Baghdad, Iraq. Just outside of Baghdad, they found these. These are 2,000-year-old batteries. And we're going to show you a replica of what it looked like. We're going to talk all about it. And we're also going to talk about a little bit about battery technology, some of the batteries that you're familiar with. We're going to go back in time. I'm also going to show you an 1894 battery from Thomas Edison. 1894. Now, you're familiar with this, right? Familiar with that type of battery? These are the type of batteries we see every day. But let me ask you this. Would you have immediately recognized this if I had shown you this? If I know it has the word battery on it. It does look similar. Guys and gals, this is a battery, a D-size battery from 1943. 1943, this is a battery. How far back does battery technology go? Well, there's a gentleman by the name of Voltaire. Isn't that interesting? His name, Voltaire. And, the Egyptians, somebody's saying, had batteries. Yeah, we're going to talk about that, a little bit about that. But the first modern battery, before they found these in 1938, we'll get to that in just a moment, Voltaire. Alessandro Voltaire was the one who came up with the idea, not the only person who came up with the idea. He developed it and turned it into a working product in 1799. Okay, that's when he came up with the working model of a battery. I'm going to show you what the Voltaire battery looked like. Okay, there you go. That right there is I don't know if it's the 1800s, 1799, but that is now would you recognize that? If I showed you this, but would you have recognized this if I had explained that was a battery? I don't know if you would or not. But would you have been able to recognize a 2,000-year-old battery? And I'm going to show you that in a moment, but what I want to do first is we just showed a modern day battery. And we showed a 1943 battery. Okay. Let me get this overlay out of the way. I'm going to open up on camera. In this box, I purchased an Edison 1894 battery. I've not seen it. This will be the first time I see it. 1894. So this is 95 years after Volta created his, okay? And let's see how we fared. I'm gonna have to go deep diving in here, folks. Oh, it's gonna be fun to clean up. Oh, that'll be fun to clean up. All right, let's get these out of the way. All right, in here. Oh man, this thing is big. Holy cow. That's right. Again, this is a battery. A battery from 1894, and it was a commercial battery. I mean, this wasn't just something he was working on in his laboratory. This was a commercial battery that Edison had invented, or sorry, not invented, but his version of the battery that he developed. And battery technology is kind of cool. I didn't quite understand it until I did a little bit of research to understand where it came from. So how it all started was there was someone that had a frog leg, and he had two pieces of metal. They were different pieces of metal. They weren't the same, And when he put them into the frog leg, energy came out, moved the frog leg or something like that. And he realized that there's animal or human energy in our structure. That was the idea. Now, what Volta said was, oh, no. It's the difference between the two metals and the muscle that you put those two probes in. They were acting like the chemicals inside of a battery today. And the difference between the two metals, and we'll talk more about that, is the potential of electrons or some kind of energy moving from one to the other. Okay, that's the best I can do for right now. Oh, this will demonstrate it, I believe. So you got two plates here. And I think these plates are the same, but you've got one in the middle that's a different value metal-wise. And as a result of that, there's a transfer of ions. That's what it is. And that's where you get your electricity from. Now, this right here, let me just be gentle with it since it is 130 years old. Good enough. So what you put in here is some kind of acidic liquid. Okay, I don't know exactly what Thomas Edison would have recommended or used, but lemon juice will work. That's one solution that works really well. There's your terminals right there, and voila. Okay, now let's go back to 1938. There's some discussion as to where these were found. Let me show you a mock-up of one. Okay. This is the Baghdad Battery. And let me just show you a nice close-up of it. And it's a ceramic, this is clay, but there were ceramic cases, okay, with tar or bitumen, however you choose to say that. So there was a tar substance up here that kept this iron rod in place, and then had a copper wire. I don't know if I've seen on the pictures a copper wire, but there was a copper sleeve and in the copper sleeve there is an iron bar. These are your two differential metals. This is 2,000 years ago. So let me explain a little more. So in 1938, Koenig, gentleman by the name of Koenig, took over for the Baghdad Museum. And there's two stories. Number one, that these were excavated, not necessarily by him, and a half a dozen to a dozen. They don't even know exactly how many were found at the time of these 5-inch ceramic cases with parts that you see inside of it were found. Or if it wasn't excavated, the other story is that when he took over as curator of the Baghdad Museum in Iraq, he found them down in the cellar, in some sort of case or crate or whatever. Now, this is what was inside of it. A little more cruder than this as far as the corrodedness of the iron bar or stem, if you might want to call it, because that's what it looks like now. And it's 2,000-year-old iron. You're going to get corrosion, okay? But it's inside this copper tube. So the iron and the copper are different metals, and there's where the transference of ions take place in the housing. Now, they put grape juice in here, lemon juice, and they have made mock-ups of these, universities have, and have gotten anywhere between 0.8 volts to a full 2 volts. All right. Now the question is, what are the ancients doing? Oh, and let me just say the date. They're not 100% sure. They think at the very oldest, 2,200 years ago. So it would be 200 BC. The latest, they're thinking minimally latest, is around 200 AD. It could be as much as 600 AD. So there's a 400-year difference as far as between oldest and youngest, but it's essentially it's 2,000 years old. What are they doing that they need or demand or are using electricity? One theory is they didn't use it at all. They basically just created this thing and didn't really have a practical purpose for it. Do you believe that? I don't know. Let me give you some of the uses, and then I'm going to tell you about a really cool experiment we're going to do later this week. Now, you will find people commenting on this video and other videos that we've done on this particular subject that it's been debunked. It has not been debunked. Matter of fact, most scientists know and believe that this is a battery. The thing that they don't understand is what they were using it for. Let me tell you some of the possible uses. Electroplating one metal onto another, and it's been done. With a mock-up of these, it was done. Very, very, very thin piece of gold over silver, but it was done. Now, does that mean that they did it? No, because they can't find any evidence of electroplating being done in and around the area. So it's possible that that wasn't one of the things. Yeah. John, I know electroplating seems to be the number one answer. It may or may not be. Medicinal purposes. They used to take, I guess, electric eels and do things with electric eels. They used to sting people's feet or whatever it was in order to whatever. The idea was perhaps that the electricity from this could have been some kind of painkiller. Okay, that's another. And they did find acupuncture-like needles nearby. So could these have powered the acupuncture needles? That's another. That doesn't sound, since they found evidence nearby, I think that sounds like we should put that up there on the board, okay? Now, this one I think is hilarious. So they make a metal statue or some sort of statue with metal probes on it or whatever, stick these batteries inside, and for religious purposes, they use it to control the people by zapping people, thinking that the God is within the statue, and when they touch it a certain way, it zaps them. Or maybe they had some sort of control to where it zaps you if you're telling, a truth, or if they're suspecting you're not, or whatever, but they think that it could have been for religious purposes. I think that's hilarious. That's about it as far as what they think it used for. So electroplating, medicinal, acupuncture, and zapping people for religious reasons. I'm just amazed that they found this, and so are they. This was unexpected. This is what you call an out-of-place artifact, or an OOPArt. That's the acronym for it. Out-of-place artifact. Now, let me tell you what we're going to be doing for an experiment just before we shove off here. We're going to be creating our own. I'm not going to make a mock-up of this and get it working, okay? I don't think I'm prepared to do that, but I'm going to do the next best thing. I'm going to take a copper nail, an iron nail, and a diode. Okay? Requires very little electricity. And I'm going to shove them both into a lemon. There's your electrolyte. That would be filled up inside one of these. An electrolyte. And I'm going to light up the diode with those two metals and the lemon. So I'm going to make a video, and I won't be going live with that one. I'll be making a video and seeing if it works. I'll do it live, meaning that I won't rehearse it. I'll just put them both in there and then see if it works. If it works, great. If it doesn't, it probably means maybe the diode was incorrect, but it's supposed to work and they've done it in the past. So there you have it. All right, I guess that's it for right now. I want to thank you for joining us on our live here on battery technology and whether or not these were being used for something 2,000 years ago. Imagine that. Electricity. I wonder what Volta and Ben Franklin would have said if they knew that these canisters were over there buried outside the city of Baghdad. Amazing. All right, well, I'm John Adolfi with the Lost World Museum, and I want to thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time either on a live or one of our videos.